Most Catholics, and to a certain extent even non-Catholics, have heard about Lourdes, Fatima, Guadalupe, and Medjugorje, places made famous by the apparitions of the Blessed Mother Mary. Millions of devotees visit these shrines each year, seeking Mary's powerful intercession and to obtain her favors. Of all the Marian shrines around the world, Lourdes is perhaps the most famous, attracting millions of devotees, especially the sick and the troubled that go there seeking a miracle. But of late, a relatively unknown little village in India has become known as the Lourdes of the East. The place is Vailankanni, and this is the story of Our Lady of Vailankanni, also known as Our Lady of Good Health.
This is Vailankanni, a small town on the southeast coast of India, on the shores of the Bay of Bengal. It is situated about 200 miles south of the city of Chennai. This quiet little town of less than 1,000 residents wakes up each day to host several thousand pilgrims from all across India, who come here to pay homage to the Blessed Mother Mary in this magnificent basilica of the Shrine of Our Lady of Good Health, Vailankanni. Most are not Catholic, or even Christian for that matter. They are either Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, or followers of one of India's many religious groups.
In Vailankanni, more non-Catholics come over here and receive favors.
And this is quite evident in the way they pay tribute to the Blessed Mother. They bring gifts of flowers, coconuts, palms, and fruit. Many dress in saffron-colored clothes. Some shave their heads as a symbolic gesture of sacrifice and humility.
Offering the coconut palms, or breaking the coconut shell and offering it, or shaving the head and bringing other garlands and other things to offer along with the candles, lighting the candles. All these expressions are the manifestation of their love for our Blessed Mother.
All religious, communal, and caste differences are set aside here, and everyone joins as one in their adoration and devotion to the Blessed Mother.
So here we see people, not only Catholics, but of all other religions, come and accept Mary as the Mother of Jesus Christ, and at the same time their own Heavenly Mother. They have that deep tenderness and affection towards her, that they come in big crowd and show their honor to her. This is the place where we find all as one family. So the mother's love and affection is expressed among all people of different faiths here. And there is a harmony and the unicity of the nation also is manifested here. It's not only the supernatural aspect, but also the human level. And also we forget that the spiritual miracles that take place in this holy shrine. So many people suffering with the various difficulties of life are able to overcome their difficulties after their coming here. Their money problems, mental problems, and also their religious life problem. All these problems are solved because of their visit and their faith and expectation. And their prayer makes them all right in the future. So many come for confession, and there is a renewal in their spiritual life. That is the main aspect that we consider. That's why we want to stress on that religious aspect of a renovation. Whoever may be, they have to be good in the heart as well as in their dealing with other people. So we give priority to spirituality.
Throughout the day, there is an endless procession of devotees making their way up to the altar to stand briefly in front of this statue of the Blessed Mother Mary and to say a silent prayer of gratitude or to pray for a cure for their illness or that of a loved one. Many childless couples come here to petition for the gift of conception. This is no ordinary statue. Dressed in a gold sari and decorated with gold jewelry, the faithful believe that those who beseech the Blessed Mother here in front of this statue and ask for a favor are rarely disappointed.
I see most of the people come with great love and at the same time expectation to obtain favors. Besides the spiritual expectation of renovation of their life, there is expectation of being cured in case of disease. That's why she is called Arogya Mata. And therefore when they come and ask for some cure, they obtain that cure. And there are so many witnesses I every day meet the people, and they bring all the facts in their own life. For example, for many years, say 7, 8, 9 years, no child. After praying to our Blessed Mother, they get within no time, and then they bring that favor, and the child they bring, and thank our Blessed Mother. And incurable diseases abandoned by the doctors, and when they pray to Our Lady with a deep faith, they obtain that favor, they are cured, and the doctors also show their surprise that they come here and show their respect and deep gratitude to her. So there are so many incidents like that.
For over 450 years, the sick and troubled from all across India have been coming here seeking a miracle.
The feeling that when we approach Our Lady of Health Vailankanni, they are sure and they are confident and their faith is strong that they will get what they want through the intercession of Mary Mother.
This Muslim man approached our camera crew to relate his story.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Qasim.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Qasim. I'm a Muslim, but for the last 7 years, I have been coming to Vailankanni to pray to Mother. My eldest son standing next to me was diagnosed with tuberculosis. But Mother cured him completely without any tablets or medicines. She does not care if a person is a Hindu, Muslim or Christian. She cares for everyone. I'm a Muslim by birth, but I have been coming to Vailankanni for 7 years to pray to Mother. Ever since my son has been cured, I have more faith in Mother and I pray to her every day.
Stories like this are quite commonplace here in Vailankanni. The church receives hundreds of testimonials from people all over the world regarding the favors they have received or miracles they have experienced. Some of them are displayed here in the Shrine Museum. They range from simple handwritten notes and photographs to elaborate ornaments and objects that depict the miracle they have experienced.
Over 8 million pilgrims visit the Shrine Basilica of Our Lady of Vailankanni each year, making it one of the most visited Marian shrines in the world. But despite its 450-year history, it is still one of the best-kept secrets in the Catholic world outside India. So, how and when did this devotion to our Blessed Mother Mary begin here in Vailankanni? According to a long-held tradition, the devotion to Our Lady of Vailankanni began in the mid-16th century and is attributed to 3 miracles. The first is an apparition of the Blessed Mother Mary with infant Jesus to a young boy delivering milk. The second, an apparition to a lame boy selling buttermilk along the roadside. And the third, the miraculous rescue of a ship full of Portuguese sailors caught in a violent storm in the Bay of Bengal.
The first apparition was in the early 16th century, when Vailankanni was just a small fishing village of a few dozen residents. Each day, the fishermen of Vailankanni would cast off early in the morning and return later in the day, their boats overflowing with the day's catch. The women and children, meanwhile, would work in the nearby fields or tend cattle and sheep. Each day, they would carry the fish, produce, and dairy products a few miles to Nagapattinam, a town of wealthy merchants and Portuguese traders. On their journey, they would pass a small pond of fresh water near a huge banyan tree. Sometimes they would stop here for a few minutes to drink the cool water from the pond, or to rest under the shady banyan tree before resuming their errands. During this time, there was a young boy who worked as a milk delivery boy to help support his poor family. Each morning, he would pick up a pot of milk from a local farmer and would go door to door delivering the milk. Sometimes during his rounds, he would stop at the pond to get a drink of fresh, cool water and rest for a short while under the banyan tree before resuming his errands. On one particular day, as he was going about his errands, the boy began to feel very tired and very thirsty. When he reached the pond, he set the pot of milk under the tree and quenched his thirst with the cool water. He then lay down under the shady banyan tree to rest for a few moments before resuming his errands. As he lay there resting, he was suddenly bathed in a brilliant light, and a beautiful woman with an infant in her arms stood before him. The lady asked the boy if he could spare a little milk for her child, as the child was hungry. Without hesitation, the boy handed the pot of milk to the lady. Taking the pot of milk from the boy, she gave it to her child. After feeding the child, the lady handed the pot back to the boy and thanked him. But before the boy could speak, the lady and infant had vanished. The boy's astonishment soon turned to fear as he realized that not only was he late with the delivery, but he didn't have any milk to deliver either, as the pot was now empty. The child had finished every drop of milk in the pot. The boy knew that his master would be very angry, as he depended on this pot of milk to feed his little baby and make buttermilk and yogurt for their meals. Nevertheless, the boy decided that it was best to go to his master's house and offer an explanation as to why he was late and why there was no milk in the pot. When he arrived at the house, he told his master about the beautiful lady and the infant who drank up all the milk. But the master was very angry. But as he was about to berate the boy, the pot suddenly began to overflow with milk. The master and boy were startled to see the empty pot now overflowing with milk. The master then realized that the boy was telling the truth and that the lady he saw must have been a divine person. He asked the boy to take him to the spot where the apparition took place. The boy led him to the banyan tree by the small pond, and they both said a prayer to the divine mysterious lady. But this was no mystery to the Catholics living nearby. They knew that this was an apparition of Blessed Mother Mary with the infant Jesus in her arms. They too visited the tree by the pond to pray to the Blessed Mother. Some of them began to experience miraculous cures after visiting the small pond and praying to the Blessed Mother. They began referring to her as the Lady of Good Health, and the pond came to be known as Our Lady's Tank. Today, a chapel has been erected over the tank to protect it from overuse. Inside the chapel is this painting, depicting the apparition of the Blessed Mother to the milk boy. 450 years after the first miracle, the devoted still come here every day to pour their hearts out and beseech the Blessed Mother Mary for a miracle. A short time after the first apparition, in another part of Vailankanni, there lived a poor widow and her only son who was lame. Although the boy was handicapped, he would try to help his mother out as much as he was able. Each day, the boy's mother would make a pot of buttermilk, which the boy would sell while sitting under a tree by the roadside. The cool and refreshing buttermilk was quite popular in the neighborhood, and the boy would normally sell the whole pot by the end of the day. One morning, as he sat under the tree waiting for customers, he was startled by a strange and brilliant light that surrounded him. And within this light, he saw a beautiful lady carrying an infant in her arms. The lady asked the boy if he would be kind enough to give some buttermilk for her child. Without hesitation, the boy poured a cup of buttermilk and offered it to the lady. After she had finished feeding her child, the lady asked him if he would go to Nagapattinam, a town a few miles away, and deliver a message there to a certain Catholic gentleman. The boy replied that he would like to, but unfortunately he was lame and therefore unable to make the trip. The lady then asked the boy to stand. Without hesitation, the boy stood up and was surprised and exhilarated that he could walk and jump and run, things he had never before experienced. The lady then asked him to go to Nagapattinam and deliver the message to a certain Catholic gentleman, that he should build a church in her honor. The boy immediately set off for Nagapattinam to deliver the message. The villagers were surprised and happy to see the lame boy running down the roadway on his way to Nagapattinam, and instinctively knew their mother of good health had worked yet another miracle in their little village. The boy gave the Catholic gentleman the message from the beautiful lady with the infant in her arms, and told him that she wanted him to build a church in her honor in Vailankanni. The man had no trouble believing the boy. He knew it was the Blessed Mother Mary with the infant Jesus that had cured the boy. He asked the boy to take him to the spot where the lady had appeared, and they offered a prayer of gratitude. The Catholic man, in keeping with the lady's wishes, built a small church, and devotees from nearby villages soon began visiting Vailankanni to petition her in the small church. This chapel has been erected recently at the spot where the Blessed Mother appeared to the miraculously healed buttermilk boy.
Some might be surprised to learn that there were Catholics in this part of the world 450 years ago. Others would be shocked to learn that the conversion to Christianity began here, in the south of India, before the founding of Catholicism in Rome.
The southern part of India has a Christian tradition that is as old as Christianity itself. After Jesus' ascension into heaven, the apostles dispersed to take the message of Jesus to the world. The apostle Thomas traveled to India, arriving on the Malabar coast in what is now the state of Kerala in the year 52 AD. Charged with spreading the message of Jesus, he soon began preaching and converting many natives to Christianity. The Catholic Church was yet to be established in Rome, so these Christians were not yet considered Catholic. They were known as Thomas Christians. Thomas established 7 churches on the Malabar coast and later moved to the Coromandel coast in the present-day state of Tamil Nadu, settling down in what is now the city of Chennai. He made his home on this hill, overlooking the city of Chennai, and continued to preach and convert the local natives to Christianity. St. Thomas was martyred atop this hill in the year 72 AD and was buried on the beach in Malapur near the Bay of Bengal. This magnificent cathedral, the Basilica of San Thome, was built by Portuguese settlers in the year 1523 at St. Thomas's gravesite. A chapel has been built on the hill where St. Thomas lived and died, and this hill is now known as St. Thomas's Mount. Inside the chapel, an inscription reads, "It was on this sacred spot that St. Thomas the Apostle was pierced with a lance and killed." There is recorded evidence that the stone cross on the altar was carved by St. Thomas himself, and it's considered miraculous, and that it sweated blood several times during Mass between the years 1551 and 1704. The picture of Our Lady painted by St. Luke was brought by St. Thomas to India. Today, there are millions of Thomas Christians all over the world. In the late 15th century, there was great interest in Europe to find a direct sea route to India. The reason? India's spices, especially pepper, which at that time was selling in Europe for a higher price than gold. The King of Portugal commissioned Vasco da Gama, a much decorated naval commander, to lead an expedition to discover a sea route to India. Vasco da Gama set sail on July 8, 1497 from Lisbon, reaching the Malabar coast in the south of India on May 18, 1498. Portugal wasted no time colonizing this part of India, and within a few years there were over a dozen Portuguese colonies along both the east and west coasts of southern India, including one in Nagapattinam, just a few miles from Vailankanni. The Portuguese were also ardent Catholics, and they soon began building churches and converting many natives to Catholicism. So Christianity was not new to this part of the world. By the mid-16th century, the Portuguese Navy was considered the most powerful in the world, and they pretty much controlled the spice trade. But still, this was the 16th century, and ships were made of wood and were equipped with the most basic navigational tools. The Portuguese Navy's biggest fear was the dreaded monsoon season in the Bay of Bengal, where violent hurricanes, or cyclones as they are called in this part of the world, would appear out of nowhere and turn their ships into driftwood. It was during the monsoon season in the mid-16th century that a Portuguese vessel was making its way from the Portuguese colony of Macau in China to Ceylon, now known as Sri Lanka. The ship was almost near its destination when the sky suddenly turned dark and thunder and lightning filled the sky, followed by a ferocious wind and rainstorm. The ship was tossed around, and the sailors knew that their ship would soon break apart and that they would all perish. Fearing for their lives, the sailors began to pray to the Blessed Mother Mary to save them. They made a promise that if their lives were spared, they would build a church in her honor wherever they were able to land safely. In a short time, the storm began to subside, and in the distance they could see land. The sailors steered their battered ship toward the land and came ashore. They were soon met by the natives and were told that they had landed in Vailankanni. They took the sailors to the small church, where they again offered their thanks to the Blessed Mother and then continued on their journey. But the sailors did not forget their promise to the Blessed Mother. They returned a few weeks later to Vailankanni to begin constructing the church they had promised to build in her honor, right on the beach where they had landed. They decorated the altar with rare porcelain plates and statues. When completed, the church on the beach facing the Bay of Bengal was quite impressive in both size and beauty. Today, the modest church that the grateful Portuguese sailors built has been extended many times and has been transformed into a magnificent basilica with 3 separate worship areas to serve the needs of the millions of devotees that visit Vailankanni each year. In spite of all the renovations and extensions, the main altar has been preserved in its original state and is essentially the same that the Portuguese sailors had built in the mid-16th century.
The shrine campus has gone through many improvements recently, and several new structures have been added, including the Chapel of Reconciliation, the Fountain of Renovation, the chapel at Nadathittu, marking the spot where Our Lady appeared to the buttermilk boy, and the chapel at Our Lady's Tank. Coming up next, the Feast of Our Lady of Vailankanni, a celebration of joy and truly incredible devotion.
The Church celebrates the Feast of Our Lady of Good Health from August 30th to September 8 to celebrate the birthday of Our Lady and to commemorate the anniversary of the landing of the Portuguese sailors. The Basilica is beautifully decorated with colorful lights and is ready to welcome over 500,000 pilgrims who pass through Vailankanni each day of the feast. Hundreds of buses ferry devotees from towns all across India, completely overrunning this massive bus stand. But in what is perhaps the biggest show of devotion and adoration, and perhaps unheard of at any other shrine, hundreds of devotees walk the entire distance to Vailankanni from their homes, some as far as 200 miles away.
They make vows to walk all the distance in order to show respect to her and thank her for the favors received every year. That's why we find people coming every year on foot. And sometimes even outside the state, people come, but they come up to Tamil Nadu by train or by some other conveyance. Then afterwards they begin their foot pilgrimage walking.
Where are you coming from? How far?
225 kilometers.
Carrying their meager supply of food and water on their heads, and with young children in tow, many too poor to even afford footwear, they travel in groups, sometimes pulling beautifully decorated floats with a statue of Our Lady. Singing hymns and chanting Ave Maria, they are an awe-inspiring sight to behold along the dark, dusty roadways approaching Vailankanni. The chapel at Our Lady's Tank is also decorated with lights for the feast, and the devotees gather in small groups outside to pray or to meditate by candlelight. A group of children gather outside the chapel to sing hymns. Thousands more go inside the chapel to visit the statue of Our Lady and to say a prayer or have the water or candles blessed. The feast culminates on September 8th in front of the church, where more than 500,000 devotees gather to watch a parade of beautifully decorated floats with various statues of Our Lady. Standing here and watching this sea of humanity, one wonders how such a spectacle of devotion could be possible in a country with a small Christian minority.
The popularity is God is working here through our Blessed Mother. That's the fact. Everybody has to acknowledge that. Because Jesus, He has chosen, it is attributed to Him only, the glory goes to Him. So here our Blessed Mother, His own Mother, is glorified in this way. So this is a peculiar place where Jesus Christ is glorified through His Mother.
Thanks mainly to a large expatriate Indian Catholic population in Europe, Australia, and the United States, devotion to Our Lady of Vailankanni is now spreading to the West. As a further sign of the popularity and importance of Vailankanni in the Catholic world, an oratory was dedicated to Our Lady of Vailankanni in the magnificent Basilica of the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. in August 1997. Built largely through the efforts of the Indian Catholics living in the United States, the oratory captures the uniqueness of Vailankanni and the richness of India's art and culture. If you happen to visit or live in the Washington, D.C. area, be sure to visit this magnificent basilica and the oratory of Our Lady of Vailankanni. It is our hope that you enjoyed watching this program. I'm Beverly Anderson, wishing you good health. Bye for now.